Okay, let's try this shit again. Am I actually recording this time? Yes, I am. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and of YouTube. Welcome to Jibber. I am your host, Skajarmas, otherwise known as Tone Shift. This is the second time we've done this intro because last time I hit start recording, it apparently didn't work and we talked into a vacuum for 4 minutes.
We have been denied.
Yes, we have. So, with us
I'm feeling
today...
a serious case of deja vu.
Shut the hell
Deja
up,
vu.
Hades. With us... We have Hades with us today. We have Darkness with us today. We have Tom with us today. And we have Paladin with us today.
Stairs.
Yeah, staring
We
into your
catched
soul.
up.
Yep. So...
No, quick, Tone, do the thing.
What?
Don't do the thing.
What thing?
The thing. The recap thing.
I'm not Ju Lee from Legend of Korra. I can't just do the thing on command because I don't know what it is.
Do the thing.
No.
No, the do.
I do what I want.
Do the thing. Turn on the recording.
I already did. We're a minute in, you bitch. Off. Just fuck off. Just grab a dildo.
Sorry.
Shred your ass.
Well,
Put spikes on it. Set it to spin. Shred your innards. I don't care. Okay. Yeah, sounds painful, don't it? Never try it.
I won't. That's the most horrifying thing I've ever heard.
Oh, you obviously haven't been around me very much. Anyways, that's tame. Now then. So, audience, I imagine you're all wondering where the hell we've been for the last few weeks. Because we haven't had an episode of Jibber in like, what, 3-4 weeks?
I say about that, thanks to our campaign.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Last
reason...
one was the shit episode.
Yeah. The reason behind the delay in episodes of Jibber Jabber is, as they say, our continuing efforts in our Final Fantasy D6 campaign. The party finally got to DV Corp and began this really long dungeon run with a lot of combat encounters and plenty of guild rewards too, I might add. But it was a lengthy process. Excuse me. And the sessions oftentimes went well over our usual 2-hour mark because of said combat encounters and interactions and strategizing and planning and navigating the hallways of this several layered underground laboratory. So it was a lengthy process and it took a while, but the party eventually came out on top, finished their work. And so from there, where the last time we did our recap of the campaign, we were talking about the bad session, the one that just didn't go right, where everything was kind of half-assed and kind of crappy, and everyone didn't really have a very good time, and it was kind of frustrating because everyone kept arguing over petty shit. That was the last time we did a recap, but things have thankfully picked up a lot since then and really improved. Like, within, like, a minute of the session immediately following, shit was back on track. So, the party aboard the Stargazer, Sid's airship, eventually made their way to the Pseudo Forest, the location where Deviant Corp's hideout is located. Deviant Corp being the evil magitechnical scientific organization that works under the influence of the law to try and create weapons and morally questionable advancements in technology. They had good goals, but their methods and practices were beyond reprehensible. Anyways, the party made their way through the Pseudo Forest after Sid parked their airship outside, and after fighting with some local creatures that were created by Deviant Corp to act as sentinels and monsters of war, which we
T-1000s.
Abominations.
T-1000s.
Abominations.
T-1000s.
Abominations.
T-800.
Tone, half the things you make in this campaign are abominations.
T-abomination.
DC abominations, nothing. So, after fighting through those beasts of amorphous flesh that could take on the shape of chocobos and then just turn into terrifying, almost velociraptor-looking things made of rippling, slidey, partially molten amorphous flesh, the party continued on and were eventually able to actually reach Deviant Corp's hideout itself. Whereupon, with some clever planning and engineering...
Hey, we're past where we were last time.
That we were. With some clever planning and work and a nice strategy, we're able to take down the turrets outside to gain access. And then And then I made the stupid joke through the NPC party member, Mika, that, why don't we just knock? And so Rocket did, which I was not expecting. That was a joke. I was joking. But
you
Rocket...
line us up like that, you're gonna take the plunge.
Fair enough. But yeah, so Rocket knocked on the hangar bay door, it slid open, and the party gained access to DeviantCorp by fighting their way through the soldiers therein. They then set about navigating the first floor of DeviantCorp, capturing some scientists and convincing them to go running, while also having to fight through patrols and turrets. And eventually, the alarms were, for a moment, set off before Thanatos quickly pulled the lever back up and shut them off. And then, but all the same, those few seconds where the alarms were going were enough to arouse some suspicion and irritation and alarm throughout the facility.
All we tried to do was housekeeping.
Right. Well, anyway, so soldiers came rushing to and fro. People were on higher alert, and battles broke out. And bit by bit, the party began to work their way down through the facility, picking up key cards to move from level 1 to level 2, where largely it was just a lot of fighting. There wasn't really a whole lot of interaction or lore information to be discovered in the process. Just a lot of meandering, fighting enemies, using items, resting for a bit. They did, in the process, come across some spare Magitech parts and modular pieces for creating limbs, cybernetic limbs, which will come up later. So, from there, the party were eventually able to make their way down to level 3, but not before the alarm started blaring all over again, alerting of a containment breach on level 3. Apparently, the sludge-like abominations that had been created by a combination of dark magic and magitechnical bioengineering had gone rampant and loose on the 3rd level. And upon the party's arrival on said 3rd level, that suspicion was proved to be correct. It was like something out of a horror movie, with flickering lights and blood smearing all of the pristine metal walls, and, monsters patrolling around with fresh blood often dripping from their jaws. It was less than pleasant to observe, and the party had to start fighting their way not through people, but through creatures of demonic origin, before eventually arriving in a large prototype armory at the back of level 3, whereupon they came across the director of DeviantCorp, Argeth himself, contained, presumably safely, within the confines of a Goliath-class Magitech suit of armor, which means it's like 20 feet tall, or really tall at least, and stupidly strong and durable. It's like a weapon of war.
Dear director, too dumb to live.
Well, anyways, the party made efforts to convince him to fight alongside them in taking down Murasan, the individual who is said to have created, or at least helped with the creation of these amber monstrosities. And Argeth, having, with feelings that he had been betrayed by Murasan once those creatures went rogue, was starting to come around to the idea when Murasan himself directly intervened and used magic of eldritch origins to immediately corrupt, infect, and essentially obliterate Argeth's mind, turning him into a rampant, wild, borderline savage, demonic person who, with the use of his mech, set about attacking the party in what technically counts as the end boss for Rocket's arc. It was a long, drawn-out, and brutal battle, and the terrain got absolutely fucked up by it. I'm not even joking about that, by the way. It was brutal on the environment. What was once a collection of rooms and hallways soon just became an almost open chamber of molten metal when all was said and done. It was brutal on the party, but eventually, with some teamwork, clever strategies, and perseverance, and getting creative in the case of Thanatos with his limit break, they were able to best the machine and pull out the man from within. After a brief moment of contemplation and borderline rage, Rocket finally ended Argeth's life, crushing his head under her clegg as if it were but a grape.
Splat.
Yep. So DeviantCorp was no more, essentially. Their leadership was annihilated, their facility in shambles, many of their employees gone, their armed forces decimated and reduced to ruin. That just left Murasan to deal with, who hinted that...
May I also add that we had encountered many of their low-level and kind of misguided but not necessarily evil employees and sent them towards the Stargazer to be saved.
Yep.
We'll bring that up again later.
Yep, that was something the party did. So, from there, the party did some scouting around, and with the help of Alicer, they were able to get a digital version of a photo of Lazarus downloaded into Rocket's memory so that she could always have his face close at hand if she needed comfort or something along those lines. And then, oddly enough, the abominations on that floor went calm, docile almost, letting the party pass without any confrontation or even aggression, simply idle, curious looks, and even a degree of communication. These abominations were capable of speech.
That one that ate the scientist.
Yeah, there was one that kept nosing at a door, and when Neitha went into that same room, the abomination immediately went to the corpse of a scientist who had committed suicide and began chowing down.
My response was just to lock it inside.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. It was a pretty grotesque scene. But after actually receiving a few directions from the abominations, interestingly enough, the party arrived at Argith's old office, with instructions that had been whispered into their minds from Murisan that he was waiting for them on a lower level, which came as a surprise to Rocket because she only ever remembered DeviantCorp having 3 levels. But given how long it had been since she was last here, it made sense that there might have been an expansion at some point. Well, the party managed to find a hidden secret elevator that went down to the 4th level. And when they stepped out into it, they discovered it was little more than a small cavern made entirely of demi-amber, the demonic crystals that are indicative of the influence of darkness and Diablos spreading throughout the world. And at the very back of this cavern was a glowing blue glass tube with a human specimen inside of it, who, after a bit of scrutiny, was revealed to be Lazarus, Rocket's father figure, the scientist who put her together and who had developed something of a father-daughter relationship with her over the course of his time working on her when she was still, within the facility before she had developed her feelings of such hatred for it, and who had also died back when he originally got her out of there, when the original Project Phoenix that created her was shut down and all assets were to be terminated for the sake of secrecy. He had escorted her out, deleted all information on the project so that DeviantCorp couldn't use them to track her or hurt her in any way, and to essentially give her a head start and cover her tracks. But he had died in the process, yet here he was, alive and seemingly well, until Murisan stepped into the room through the wall of crystal, and with but a snap of his fingers, Lazarus, who had apparently been sustained by some magic weaved by Murisan, and died. Life came to an end. Thrown into a rage at seeing her father die for a second time, Rocket went to attack Murisan. But it soon became apparent that even with all 5 of the party going at him at once, this was not an enemy they stood a chance at beating. His movements were quick.
I did break his nose, though.
You did
I threw a fireball at him.
Yeah, and it did 0 points of damage.
Mine did damage. I just picked up a random stray piece of amber. Yeah.
Which I call bullshit.
I didn't write the rules. Shut up.
It's just funny. He's like, haha, I dodged you 5 smack. Ow.
How does a fireball do nothing and then just a little piece
He
of rock?
deflected your fireball and then got cocky.
He
and then
didn't deflect it. He just
magicked it away. Meanwhile, I shouted,
hit him. He just didn't do anything.
Hey, as powerful as magic can be, a piece of crystal to your fleshy face is a piece of crystal to your fleshy face.
Exactly. Blame the rules, not me. I didn't write it.
Also basic physics.
Right. So
he might remember that.
We're
So, yeah.
discussing physics when
Especially also since the literal rules of that ability as well is that the person you did this to will remember this.
Dark Knight, don't
Yeah.
question it.
Right, so. Now then, so, from there, the party was quickly able to deduce that this is not an enemy they are prepared to fight and defeat, and began trying to escape. But Murasan, the motherfucker, wasn't having it. And so he used his limit break, Vermilion Scourge, to completely obliterate the entire facility they were in. He had no further use for it. It had served its purpose in his eyes. It could go away. And what better way to do that than cause a gigantic fucking explosion? Seeing as Diabolos likes chaos as much as he does, blowing up a facility in such a manner in the middle of a forest with a lot of life seems a good way to cause some chaos.
And seemingly because of this, all those scientists and just random civilians who tried to rescue perished.
Indeed. So for
they still caught in the explosion, and just those stragglers who were left, like that Golka and Elvan from the beginning, were just chased down by the abominations or something.
Indeed. As it stands, the explosion was so vast and powerful it could be seen for miles around as a great pillar of crimson energy that rose into the sky, gathered into one point, and then came shooting back down in the opposite direction to explode all over again. So that could be seen for miles around, and the effects were immediate. Amber started to grow from the soil shortly thereafter, and Sid and his crew on the Stargazer waited for well over a day for the party to come back with word of their survival, and in the process had to fight off several creatures from the forest, both frenzied wild animals thrown into a panic by the explosion, and leftover abominations that had seemingly not been in the facility or close to the explosion when it went off.
You always knew those civilians we were saving were never going to live, didn't you?
To be fair, I never anticipated you to try that. Though if it's any consolation, they weren't killed by the abominations.
The explosion.
Nope, not that either.
More mystery, yay!
Anyways. Now then.
You and your bullshit mysteries.
Mysteries upon mysteries and upon conspiracies and layers of bullshit.
Well, how about the mystery of how the fuck we survived the explosion? We gonna learn that anytime soon?
Eventually. Not anytime soon, though.
Guessing someone stepped in to whisk us away at the last second.
Well, anyways, so yes, as these two have so finely alluded to, the party survived. Yeah, the party survived the explosion somehow, and it is with their survival of that explosion that our most recent session actually began, as everyone awoke in some underground cavern with Amber and Rocket, and everyone had these little individual visions or little dreams relating to their plot arcs in some capacity. Neothil had another moment of communication with Panara.
A.k.a. her mother.
Possibly.
It's like the writing's on the, unless you just pull a fast one on me or like changed or something because I predicted it. Like the writing's on the wall, especially with that Mika thing. It's like, oh, you have a girlfriend, really? Okay.
Hey,
Just that mischievous glint in her eye. That's just like, yeah.
here's an idea how you guys
the
got
baby photos.
Here's an
Yeah,
idea how you guys got saved. Queen Chrysalis teleported in and saved you guys' ass.
No, absolutely not. Wrong universe.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
Indeed.
I'm just like, I don't know if you saw that in the chat. I'm just dreading the thought of like Panara meeting this like version of Windy Whistles. And like, you have child photos as well. Let's swap.
Well,
And then Mika joins in.
well, anyways.
Oh god, me will die.
Anyways, so like I was saying, Neothil had a moment of communication with Panara, who had apparently sensed some kind of shifting disturbance in the amber, and confirmed with Neothil that she had trained all her life to be able to effectively and safely use amber without succumbing to its corruptive effects.
We'll see how that lasts, especially with Diablos involved.
Let's see here. Alicer had a vision of a village he had been to in the past. I don't remember its name off the top of my head, which is why I didn't say it in the session, but it's a place he had been, and as part of his training, if I'm recalling. And he saw that it had been seemingly burned down, reduced to cinders, and in the middle of it all, there was a woman in broken down paladin armor, much like his own, and when she looked up, it was as though she saw him, even though he was only seeing this, he wasn't physically there, and lashed out with her sword before he awoke. Thanatos had a brief instant of communication with his master upon waking up, Caius, who was just as oblivious as to how they survived as Thanatos and his friends were, but then instructed Thanatos to brook no more delay and make for Kurzatan at his earliest convenience.
Okay.
That and get good scrub.
Now, here's the next question. If he was there, how did he get out of there?
I can't talk about it.
Oh, well, so there's something to do with the whole, my present circumstance requires that I cannot help you, despite the fact that I'm physically
It's
here,
time for
and
you
all
to
of
get
you are
good.
holding on by a bloody thread to life.
And I still question that whole time slow down bullshit that he can do, because I'm pretty sure Dark Knights can't use time magic.
Well, they can't, but it's something I'll figure out later. Now,
He's
You
got
love
secrets
fucking
to
saying that. You'll figure it out
yes,
later.
I do love saying that because it's true.
Hey, here's the thing. Your story arc is next. You're about to find out everything. I have to wait multiple story arcs. I'm literally the last fucking one.
Because yours is probably going to be the best, because you two actually know how to make a story.
Well, actually, it's because his is the furthest away from you geographically. That's the only reason. If it were up to me, it would be the first.
No,
Thanatos.
no, Luminos would have been the first if it were up to you, and it was.
Your master wants you to get good, or otherwise you will never descend to a true Dark Knight.
Well, anyways, the last person in the party to have any kind of meaningful vision, and the most meaningful out of all of them, was Rocket. For reasons as of yet unknown to her, she was permitted a moment, seemingly amid the amber itself, to talk to Lazarus. You know, her father figure who I mentioned earlier, who had perished, as though his disembodied spirit and her own spirit were given a moment of communication to say their goodbyes. They had a moment, they talked, they caught up. Lazarus explained why he was seemingly alive in that underground chamber, and the reason amounted to DeviaCorp had lost all of their information on Project Phoenix because he deleted all of that information, leaving them incapable of pursuing that avenue of research again without starting from scratch, as well as removing some of their most efficient means of tracking down Rocket. Like, they couldn't track her technologically, the signal identifying software was gone. So, when Murasan showed up, apparently he used eldritch magics of some description to resurrect Lazarus, to probe his mind and get the information needed to kickstart the successor project to Project Phoenix, so that they could get a start and make those biologically engineered abomination thingies that were, at least until Murasan decided they shouldn't be, totally subservient and obedient to their human creators. Murasan was, of course, pulling the strings the entire time and was the only one really in control, but the humans didn't know that until it was far too late.
Because the director, as I said, was too dumb to live.
And there was some mind manipulation magic going on in there, too.
Yes, and also a lack of common sense.
That too, but it was mostly the mind manipulation magic. As stubborn as he is, and as impatient as he is, Argeth is not an idiot, or was not an idiot, but he's dead now, so it doesn't matter. But anyways, after that, saying goodbye and passing along a message for Rocket to tell the others that he said thank you for taking care of her, the party finally began to come to. All at one hit point, all very fucked up from the explosion, and all very unsure as to how they survived. After spending some time healing up and realizing that Rocket's mechanical leg had completely broken off from all of the damage she had taken, and she was leaking fuel, the party began to slowly trudge their way to try and find a way out of this place, and found themselves in what Mika speculated was the Amber Abyss, which is supposedly the original home of the Amber, a gigantic subterranean network of caves and caverns and gigantic chambers that runs all beneath the entirety of the first Inoan continent where our story takes place, and is, according to her, where all of the Amber comes from. It originates down here and then grows up through the earth like plants.
She then freaked out, Nee tried to cheer her up, failed, Nee was sad, and then trudged off.
I mean, no, up until recently, like, there had been no sightings of anyone actually finding the abyss, much less coming back alive.
We seem to get in the habit of finding things that should not be found, like the pseudo demi-goddess that was trapped there.
Indeed. As the party was making their way out into the chamber proper, into the abyss proper, they looked up, and chained up and bound in coils of amber, they found Tiamat. Interestingly enough, the dragon daughter of Bahamut, who is himself the god of dragons and the wind.
So that's going to be a fun talk with Daddy.
Indeed. She was seemingly being corrupted by the amber in that moment and pleaded with the party to get out, save themselves, and if at all possible, inform her father about her fate.
Is he a dragon? Or...
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
There's Bahamut.
I've
If you've
seen.
seen like the opening cutscene of A Realm Reborn, you'd know.
What kind of question?
I mean,
scary.
I've seen another version where he kind of looked more like a guy in armor.
It's the
No,
Final
that's
Fantasy 15
finished.
version. Most of the time, he's a dragon. Yes, yes, Darkness?
Sorry. Of course he would be a dragon. I mean, if his daughter's one, so should he be.
This is a god.
Yeah, god of dragons.
Yeah,
Still, it would be nice to have like an even more powerful god on our side, like against Diablos.
Hmm.
Or still.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have a strange feeling that we're gonna tell him, and then he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna bother."
Well, yeah.
Wait
Also,
to see.
this dragon we just met, totally the last time we're ever going to see her. She's definitely not going to come back completely insane and corrupted. At all.
well,
Why would that happen? Why would that be foreshadowed, Brian?
Shut up.
I mean, you make it sound like he's a conniving little devious asshole who just loves to throw shit at us.
Okay, calm
Well,
down. moving
anyways,
on.
I got the
Save it
rest
to
of
the
this-
end.
I mean, I know he's a conniving little mischievous asshole who has to throw shit at him, because in his place, I do the same thing.
Well, if you will hush for a minute, I can finish the recap, because we're almost there. Jeez, we're already like almost 30 minutes into this. Jesus Christ.
I saw him forgive me. What
Hush,
he did before this
Batman. Hush.
Hush,
Well,
Robin.
he's not. Get it right.
Now then, so, following all of that, the party, after being assaulted by self-aware, seemingly tendrils of amber itself, were able to, they were mercifully deposited in the abyss relatively close to the surface. And so, after working their way through some caves, were able to come out into the seemingly very injured pseudo-forest, where a huge-ass crater had been left in the wake of the Vermilion Scourge attack that Murasan had used. Following that, the party, moving slowly because Rocket only had one leg, slowly but surely began to inch their way across the terrain to try and make their way for Dami Checkpoint, where they had agreed to meet with Sid in the event they did not come back in a short amount of time. As they traveled, moving slowly, eventually, the Stargazer came from Dami Checkpoint to look for them in the form of a search party. And with a creative application of the fire spell to create a signal flare type situation, Thanatos was able to get the
Stargazer.
thank you, the Stargazer's attention, and the party was brought back on board, with Sid making the promise to enact some repairs upon Rocket's damaged body when they got back to the checkpoint, since it wasn't technically in Lynn Solemn's borders. He would be well within the law to operate on Rocket and give her some much-needed repairs and upgrades.
And a slightly humorous scene leading to a small relationship upgrade between Nee and Mika.
Yep. So, the airship took them back over the course of a couple days, and on arrival, Sid set Rocket into a workshop that he was good friends with, and set to work with some help from Mika to keep Rocket sedated and unconscious for the duration. And over the course of several days, Sid intermittently worked on Rocket, replacing her completely obliterated metal leg with a new one that almost looked like her organic leg, fixing up and replacing some of the heavyweight materials in her rocket boosters with lighter weight ones, repairing them in the process, fixing up her mechanical eye, which had been cracked in the explosion, and in general, just replacing a lot of her really heavy and archaic and not the best parts with more modern, lightweight ones. And so, eventually, when she woke up, it was with several upgrades. For one thing, she can now essentially use the scan spell whenever she wants without having to use MP. It's a standard action, but it lets her figure out the maximum HP, MP, status immunities and elemental reactions of any enemy she uses it on.
Except for boss enemies and all that.
Except for bosses and end bosses. She can't use it on them. And she also gained the ability to fly for up to 5 hours in a day.
Nee is happy with this development.
While carrying someone on her back as well. She can carry up to one person in terms of weight before it becomes too heavy. And so, with that, she flew up to surprise the party, and as Neothil just suggested, gave Nee a bit of a fly around the checkpoint they had arrived at, to lift everyone's spirits and give them all a happy little conclusion to the plot arc of Rocket the Cyborg Chocobo. And
As for me, when I first saw the sight of it, well, Alisaya, I conked myself on the head with my own staff to make sure I wasn't sleeping.
because Rocket's been too heavy to fly this whole time, but now she can totally fly for up to 5 hours.
Yes. Rocket is now pretty much at the pinnacle of her development.
Yep.
I wonder how
And
it'll go for the rest of
She
us.
believed she could fly.
And she no longer feels pain.
Yeah, well, she'll still feel normal pain, but she's no longer in the perpetual pain that was brought about from her pain dampeners around where she has metal sticking out of her head shut off, so she no longer feels pain constantly. She'll still feel it if you, like, punch her in the face or slash her open. She'll feel that, but she's no longer in constant pain from having metal parts sticking out of her all the time.
Well, considering Rocket's avoidance, the only real way people have been hitting her is either luck or having a gun that increases their accuracy.
Magic works, too.
Now to see where Thanatos
Magic's
goes.
just cheap.
Either he will become so advanced that he'll get Kaiser's approval finally and become the new Batman, or he'll become the kind of mopey, whiny dick racer from the Titan TV show who's just always miserable and burns his costume constantly.
I am not.
Edge.
I am not Robin.
Yes, you are.
We have gone through this.
Yes, you are. You are the true
Caius
Jason
is
Todd.
not, as much as you like to say, Caius is not Batman.
He is your Batman. To
I
your
kill
Robin.
people.
Well,
He
the
kills
something
people.
with Titans then, or the DC EU.
Dead there.
You're perfect for modern DC because it's all about killing an edge.
Yeah, you have two choices: Nightwing or Jason. Yes or no?
Jason becomes Red Hood, who's like an anti-villain,
Exactly.
anti-hero.
Which he kills. So yeah.
Right. Well, anyways, so do either of you two have, or you three rather, have anything you wish to add to this? Anything you want to talk about, bring up, mention, speculate?
Mura-san, named after your character in Final Fantasy XIV, is a Mithra. His face is obscured. Your own words, we will hate or love you, or both, when we find out his
And
face.
And he talks as if he knows
There we go.
us.
There's a particular disdain, like, I can't beat Saran, let's do it, I can't beat Saran. Our current running theories are either it's literally your Mura-san character, or it's Saran himself revived in a similar
It's
vein
Saran.
as Lazarus by Diablo.
No, he
It is so
confirmed.
Kind of
totally Saran.
upgraded.
It is not Saran.
I'm in the
He said
Saran
himself he
territory.
had incredible
makes you
power,
think
but
it's
he was
not?
arrogant. He just
I could
said so. He knew
I can
him.
totally see it's like Saran, like I shot him in the head, he got burned, but Diablo's like, I'm not done with you, bitch. I'm gonna pump you full of amber, I'm gonna resurrect you using my powers, which I know what they are, because I have some slight insight into that, but I won't say shit. And I will send you back at them again. Don't fail me this time, or your ass is mine.
He's not one of the chosen from fucking XCOM. Fuck's sake.
I was gonna play XCOM after this.
But the fact that
That's so
like we're going to be so mad though when we see under that hood indicate it's someone we know. How many Mithra characters do we know?
that
like
we've
that personally.
that have been villains.
It doesn't mean that basically
Unless
the
it's
same
Lara
Mithron.
fucking
There's
Kane.
more than one. There's literally an entire species of them, for fuck's sake.
Yes, but it has to be someone we know. Otherwise,
That
we
just-
wouldn't have a
that just
reaction
that's
to
Tom,
it.
That's Tom. 1 sec.
Oh my
Darkness.
god.
Darkness, why do you think it's not Saran?
Well, like I said, he basically speaks of him, saying he had incredible power, but he's arrogant.
Well, that'll be because he's
Reckless.
been resurrected. It's like he's disdainful. Like he's distancing himself from that previous failure, and he's got his new bloody identity. But if it's not Saran, Darkness, who do you think it is? Who's the other well-known Mithra that we've had so much interaction with that makes any degree of sense to be Murasan?
For goodness sake.
That has
Who
magic.
says that we actually met him? It could have just
He
known
did,
from-
because he said we're going to have a reaction to it, which indicates we know him. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a fucking reaction to it.
We've seen that Diablos can resurrect people from the freaking dead. They just did
Again,
that
I
last-
know how he does that, but spoilers. Haha.
Spoilers. What do you know?
Tom was able to deduce some shit while talking to me about it.
Yes, and then he showed me stuff to...
You showed him stuff, and every time I tried to do it, you just go.
The difference is I was correct.
The thing is,
He won't even tell me if I'm correct. I swear.
Thing is, I've clamped down on that since then. I realized that I was doing it bad and stopped doing it pretty much as soon as I did that. It's like, yeah, I shouldn't be letting him figure this shit out.
Still, on the bright side, now I get to join in a bit in the I know something you don't.
And this is why you two are the bastards.
There's only two utters.
You two have done enough shit to earn multiple.
No.
But still,
Okay.
the point is, it's totally going to be Saran. It's the only dude that bloody makes sense aside from it being Murasan, which is the only other option that I like. His like Skajarma's Murasan, because that's the only other reason that makes sense.
Look.
Simply because it'll literally be
Stop.
him, and that would piss us off.
I mean, here's
No.
the thing. I mean, interestingly enough,
No.
Murasan as a character actually began with the first RPG Maker game I was ever making a long ass time ago. The original Murasan was the main villain of that game and was this blue-haired, sword-wielding mage who was trying to get revenge on essentially the deity of the world he lived in because he believed said deity had lied to him and led to the destruction of his home and his friends and family, which was not quite true. It wasn't quite true. The deity had been misinformed, and yeah, but at any rate, what it ultimately amounted to is the Murasan that I originally created served as the name that I used for my main character in Final Fantasy XIV, largely because my original character in Final Fantasy XIV was on a Japanese server for some reason. I didn't put him there myself, but whatever. And as a result, I couldn't get a match with other players, so I got stuck the moment I reached the first dungeon. So I got trapped and had to make a brand new character. And my first character was named Ryle, after the main protagonist from said first game. So then my second character became Murasan, the lead villain from that first game.
It's still totally Saran. Gotta be.
Can we not have the fucking Shyamalan twist? I don't want it to be that obvious.
It's gotta be like it would make so much because the fact that he's continuing to be a main
What a
villain, like,
twist.
we have an emotional body attachment to him already and hate him so fucking much, and for him to come back and be this arc villain continuously.
Oh, next thing you're gonna say, he's fucking Toffee.
What?
Okay, I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Darkness
It is
is
Saran.
in conflict with your theory.
It is Saran.
Yes.
We all
I
know
literally-
it is.
Could we
The only-
not? Could we just move on?
Oh, you
We
go ahead.
only know two other major male Mithra characters, and that's like Blaren and Vanar, and that would just be like, what the fuck, makes no fucking sense, and hasn't been built up at all. So,
Stop overthinking it. You're hurting my head.
it clearly doesn't take much to do. It's Saran.
Aye.
Yeah, you keep speculating.
We all know who it is.
Oh, we gotta speculate. Got so much fucking mysteries, and I have to wait the longest to solve mine.
He just keeps piling on the mysteries. How did we survive the blast? Who got us out of it?
While I'm
Fuck
setting you all up for the final plot arc, I'm getting all these pieces on the board so that when you wrap up your individual arcs and go into the last one, I'll be able to start rapid fire explaining shit to you as you go through.
And the biggest
Yeah.
mystery of all: will Nee survive that exchange of childhood photos?
Now then.
Just no. By the
Okay,
way,
so anything else aside from your wild fan theories?
That's what I was gonna say. Thank you.
Uh,
Anything else,
it's on.
gentlemen?
It's on.
yeah.
Don't say it.
Here's another instance during your arc that'll be funny. It'll cheer you up.
What?
When Thanatos meets her sisters.
Yeah,
I
they'll
see
kick your
he's-
ass. I'm already trying to.
And this is the day that Thanatos gets his ass kicked because he
I'm
learned a
still
valuable
hoping for that
lesson.
scene when we're like
Don't
walking into
fuck with
Vitea,
family.
maybe just like ambush me and do some sort of mock fight, well, half mock fight, while the rest of the pipes look on like, what the fuck is happening? I still
They
like
see
that
here.
thing.
They see here's my image of when we get to Vitea and like right outside Ni's home, we all get ambushed and there's archers all pointing their arrows at us and like, guys, I'm getting a serious case of deja vu here.
It's like, hey, it's okay, guys. It's only me, except for Thanatos. Keep pointing arrows at him. That's fine. Everyone else is good.
Well, gee, thanks. You see, that's when Thanatos grabs you by the back of the collar and just holds you in front of him as a shield.
That will
Yeah,
get
at
you
that
shot.
point, at that point, yes, several others will probably emerge from the trees behind us and kick you in the nuts.
Or shoot you in
Is
the
that
ass,
this?
whichever.
Yes.
Now,
I can imagine
No.
me doing that, and then the
It
younger,
probably wouldn't be a
like the
bright
middle
idea.
sister. I mean, I can see the middle sister just kind of magically appearing behind me and just having a knife.
Oh,
in my throat.
if it was anyone that would be kicking your ass, it would be Rania easily because she's literally Rainbow Dash. So
Well, yeah.
now the Dark Knight has learned a valuable lesson today. Don't fuck with family.
I still need to figure out what levels your sisters are.
I would say make them pretty high.
I mean, I know Skalala is going to be lower by the time you guys get to Vitea.
But I'm sure Ronnie is going to at least still be
Yeah.
like a level or two ahead of us.
if I'm higher than Skalala by the time we get there, Skalala's gonna fucking fuming. Like what?
No,
This is
she,
bullshit.
no, she'll be excited and proud.
Hmm.
So,
Now,
what I'm thinking,
this-
because you're going to be like you're going to be level 8, I believe, when you start on your arc. If I have my numbers correct in my
Yeah.
head, 7 or 8 doesn't matter. But point is, when you do go through all that, I'm thinking I'll have Skalala be level 6, and I'll have Rania be level 10.
Wait,
So,
what level are we going to be by the time we get there?
either 7 or 8. I think 8.
Oh,
so-
I just realized Skalala and Mika are going to get on very well because of Skalala's random book searching facts.
Yeah,
Indeed.
those two.
And that just leaves Rania to tease you.
Yeah.
So, Squirt,
God,
I didn't
like-
realize you were in the market of chasing tail.
Oh,
Mika, help.
Oh no, this is wonderful. Too much fun.
You're all the worst. I hate you all.
Yeah, we love
I'm
you
gonna go
too.
die
you're,
now.
on your, you're on your own, I'm afraid. Not even my healing magic can heal your dignity right now.
That is going to be a fun time.
And I thought it was my job to pick on her.
I just realized I totally forgot to set the topic from introductions to FFD6 recap. Oh, well, that's fixed now.
Well, we kind
Right at the
of
end
went
of it,
off on a big tangent. It's been like 45 minutes.
We're at 43 minutes.
Yes. And besides, you're not expecting fucking hugs and kisses from the next future encounter.
Well, at any rate, any other things you all want to bring up? Anything else you want to discuss or speculate on, or just things you want to remind me about, finer details about the last few sessions that I kind of glossed over or anything?
Just curious to see how Thanatos' arc is going to go. What the hell's going on with Alice's arc, considering his lack of backstory.
He has just as much backstory as the rest of you. He just doesn't have any outstanding threats or leftover problems that require his immediate attention or drive him on. He doesn't have the sort of familial problems that Neothil has. He doesn't have the vengeance drives that Thanatos or Rocket have. Or
Yeah,
had,
he's
in
not
Rocket's case.
Nightwing, a half-cyborg chocobo, or the potential spawn of a demon woman. So,
Yeah, he just has a crippled master back home and no idea what's happened since he left.
yeah. I wonder if Athena will show back up for his arc.
Probably
Since,
not,
Probably.
because she's up in the Academy City with Kelgor.
But he needs his waifu.
It's
What
not!
about what about Thanatos' waifu with the whip?
You mean
I don't know what you're talking about
You mean
there.
Kyra?
Friends.
Yes.
Her name is
only
Kyra.
friends.
Kyra is just a character who came in and helped us and is a very nice mercenary who.
The fact that she has a whip, I think shows a lot about.
Oh,
Thanatos'
like you
face.
didn't hearts for her, Mr.
The
Dark
reason she
Knight.
has a whip
She's
is
your
because she's
type.
based off of one of my characters.
She's your type, whip and all. You cannot deny
You
it.
don't.
Oh,
know
Thanatos
my-
Thanatos is totally a bottom. We just confirmed this shit. It's canon.
Oh,
I
for
mean, he is the edge boy, so
You pull that shit on me, I pull it on you too. It works both ways, motherfucker.
Hey, leave it to whips.
Yes, because we all know that Mika's the one that wears the pants in that relationship.
Oh,
What
the fuck, man?
What does that mean? Wearing the
It
It means
means
that
that-
she's the dominant one.
well, I mean, yeah, that seems to be the case.
Yes. Which is honestly was true in Soaring on Little Wings as well. To some extent.
Do something.
Congratulations, you just got dominated.
And the whole like out on the field, like needs more dominant because she's more the leadership take charge one. However, when it comes to domestic situations, yes, mistress.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, I like that little pouty trick that you tried to do this session, and she just goes, "Oh, yeah, that's pretty cute."
Yeah.
Let's go.
Goes from barking orders to the rest of you to pouty face. Yeah, that sums up their relationship in a nutshell.
Yes.
I love it so much.
Jesus.
I think we just
But no,
did
we
quite
probably
the
will not be
topic.
seeing Kyra in my plot arc, according to Mr. Asshole down here.
Yeah, I don't
we'll
have any.
see.
I don't have any plans for Kyra and Thanatos' arc.
There you go.
Payne Farrell, on the other hand, I imagine you'll be bumping into her though.
Yeah. Let's hope she doesn't share the same fate as my XCOM version. Oh god. Grenade to
I
the
hope
face.
not. But for context, Tom has been playing through a game of XCOM and created has been using the cast of our FFD6 campaign to formulate his squads. And at one point, Fane Farrow, a character from the second plot arc, like some 10 sessions ago at this point, got involved in the campaign
Well,
in the game.
Well, there's 6 slots. It's like 5 of us main characters. So I had them, but I needed 6 slots. I chose Fane Farrow to be that. She was like my rifleman support character. She was with me for pretty much the entire game until the XCOM base defense, where she took a grenade to the face.
and died.
And died. And she's been replaced by Caius.
And what did you make him?
You put Kyra.
He's actually he by the game defaulted him to actually the same rank because I was previously using him as my covert operative to go after Exalt because he sticks the shadow, so I thought it was appropriate. But since he was the same class as Fane Farrow, I decided to use him as the replacement since he had pretty much the same abilities and stuff.
Nice.
You know, I'm tempted to start to use our characters for XCOM 2. That'd be funny.
Yeah, I mean, the characters that do survive are pretty well take over to XCOM 2 playthrough as well.
I made quite a load of interesting characters in XCOM 2.
I haven't played any of the XCOM games, nor do I really plan to. So
The best part about
I think you would enjoy them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
really
since you
good.
can your
I
the,
mean,
the best part about the base defense is that one day, in-game day before the base defense happened, I stuck me in a Gene tank to get mimetic skin so that she can blend into her environment or become invisible. Because of a stealth skill, I thought it was appropriate. And then the attack happened while she was still in that tank, so she had no idea what was going on throughout the entire thing. She woke up and the base was on fire. There was corpses, humans and aliens everywhere, and Fane Farrow was dead. I leave you guys alone for 5 minutes.
I can explain.
well, anyway,
we can even play multiplayer of that.
Rocket is a giant mech, and she actually just punts people across the map as the most powerful attack.
I would love to. I don't know if it would be freaking offensive, just to make her like a full-on robot. Because in XCOM 2, there's the Spark.
I made her a mech simply because the mech has the ability to punch someone with like a rocket-propelled fist. So she's literally the nutcracker.
Rocket punch.
Yeah.
Falcon
That's so
punch.
lame.
that's so cool. All right. So we've got about 6 minutes left before we're done here.
I think about 10 minutes actually.
Actually, be about
Started
that,
late,
but
10
more
minutes
than
late
that.
because of
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, if we want to go that full 10 minutes, we're not going to have enough time to properly cover the second topic I listed, because we've already been going for like 40 minutes just talk, like almost 50 minutes just talking about FFD6. So might as well just stay on that because we won't have enough time to do Crimson Justice at this point.
Next week, I suppose, because we'll have less. He sounds so disappointed. You see that just whine. Oh,
Next time.
Crimson.
Next time. Paladin, you've kind of been quiet this entire time. Do you have anything you want to add or any questions you want to ask us?
I
was waiting for him to ask, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
would ask who really saved them, but I know you're not going to tell me either.
Indeed, I'm not.
Yeah, because you won't run the risk that you tell us.
I probably have. You will not answer.
Yeah, he's very bad at answering
There are
questions.
so many questions, but he won't give us answers.
What I am is very good at not giving you guys spoilers.
And yet there are times where he lets things slip when he's describing something in the campaign.
Like, to me. Huge point.
Yeah,
Little
I clamped down on that as soon as I realized how big of a dumbass move that was, so.
Oh, Lumina's gonna love it.
I don't know if it's important, but I'm upgrading my PC a bit, so.
Alright.
A little upgrade is always nice.
New processor, and I think it was like 6 or 8 more terabytes of data.
Yeesh.
There you
8
go.
terabytes. I only have like 1. Shit.
I know, I have 1 terabyte too, and it's almost full.
I have like 200 gigs left now. Actually, I can tell you exactly how much I have. I have 185 gigs left.
I
Terabyte.
have,
On this laptop, let's see,
Well, at any rate, the
78.
425 gigabytes.
at the end of the day, we finally finished up Rocket's plot arc. Chapter 3 has come to a close. And
Yeah, a few more episodes to be uploaded. I've uploaded and scheduled all the episodes all the way up to 1 second.
Oh, I just thought
Episode
something.
57. So
Right.
many weeks.
Right.
March
I just-
is where it goes up to currently.
Right. And I still need to finish up the intro for the next chapter, Chapter 4, Thanatos' arc, which, I'm looking forward to that, because I do have shit planned. That's
Can
going to
I-
be really fun.
Speaking of the intro, can I say the most telling thing is the fact that he said he really wishes he could commission an anime intro for Knees.
I mean,
That's the most telling thing. How nuts it's gonna be.
there are a lot of moving pieces in your arc, all right?
Yeah,
I
you
just
told me
thought
that
of
my arc can have one of the worst fucking endings. So,
Family
if you
reunions,
fuck it
then
up, you will probably have the most depressing ending out of everyone's arcs if you fuck it up.
oh, why do I have the most pressure?
Because it's you.
You gave me the best shit to work from, man. All right, I'm sorry.
Well, it's not my fault. I have experience writing stories.
Well, I mean,
Yes. Like, you guys just don't, throw everything out.
Like, I'm literally the guy that whenever my character writes a letter home, I write the fucking letter home.
Exactly.
yeah, I know, and I've read it, and the last line is still stuck with me, even if the rest of it hasn't. I met someone.
just
Please
thought-
don't laugh.
If I may,
They will.
Yes.
I just thought of something. I mean, I suppose I have time for one little, if you may.
What one little what?
Basically, a little thing I've been planning to do, I was going to do after the Crimson Arc, all that, is just tells these small little short stories of important lessons of what to do and not to do in D&D, which are pretty hilarious encounters.
What your experiences with us has taught you.
Mhm.
Things.
Could be
That'd be
interesting.
one.
Also, whenever we eventually finish Chronicles of Eno, and if we go on to do something next, my next character will totally be Perfect Rose. Whatever setting.
Well.
Keeping with the theme.
Fair enough.
Of course.
I already have. If we did the Mass Effect one we talked about a while back, I already have the character specifically in mind.
Well,
Now, you see, Tom, that's assuming we survive this Chronicles of Eno.
If we don't survive, we'll do it in death.
All right. Well, we're pretty much out of time. We definitely don't have enough time to launch any more topics, and I think we've pretty much exhausted the recap for FFD6.
And on that bombshell.
So yes, So yes,
Top Gear reference.
on that very lengthy recap of things we've been through, it is time for us to end this this episode of Jibber Jabber. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Keep listening, people. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
Bye, everybody.